What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from the Dyslexic Investor. And what in God's green earth did Tesla drink this morning on this Monday? Basically, the overall other markets were down just slightly, maybe 1.5% here and there. But Tesla was up 13.6% today. What? Okay, so even in after-hours trading, it closed at 650. After-hours trading, we're looking at 650 or 671. So let's go to the after-hours trading chart here. We're going to look at basically here. We draw a little line. We're basically added another 4 or 5, yeah, another 4%. So we're up. Again, I'm not going to count the after-hours trading, but just having today, just a heck of a run. And we're going to be looking at some articles that I don't like to tie this to something by technically understanding that once it broke above the 592, which was we talked about in a previous video, it just took off. And once it just took off, it just went gangbusters. And now with actually not with a significant amount of volume for what we've usually seen, this is a great move for Tesla. The moving averages right now are crossing over the 21, which we love to see. When that 8 crosses over that 21, that looks so sexy. That is just prone for a pop. It bounced off so nicely off the 200 exponential moving average there. Let's pop this out to a weekly chart. Again, Tesla has been a crazy run for a lot of people, but it basically came down to the tick to like little under 350. And just has been a rocket ship from there. This is literally a V-shaped bottom if you've seen it. You can't get pretty much more defiant than this. What's the reasoning behind this? I don't know. I don't know the reasoning, but yeah. So let's see what the experts are saying here. Basically, this is on the tails of Ford falling nearly 4% after the market. The company issued a profit warning Monday, so this today, that car sales are declining and automakers have been halted with their production is just a huge issue for their overall growth in the coming months. This is also in the sentiment of GM is the other huge North American car manufacturer in the United States, is down nearly 40% year to date. So we're going to look at Ford and GM in comparison to Tesla. And I think it just comes down to Tesla is like they're just innovating on a such higher level. And I think a lot of people who have been into Tesla and understand the Tesla model, just the car models and then their model of growth and how they got into those markets has just been it looks like an overnight success, but it's been going on for literally 15 plus years. I'm just trying to build this flagship company that just stands for being the forefront leader in electric cars and then being on the forefront of just making fantastic cars that your everyday person wants to drive, and even getting the perspective a lot of people who are affluent who enjoy their cars as well, because they're taking a lot of business from people who would potentially buy an Audi, a BMW, a Lexus, or a Mercedes, and they're buying a Model S or a Model Y now to potentially take away a lot of that market here in the United States, especially with the Model Y on having what we in the United States like is the smaller SUV kind of model, being a little bit higher off the ground with more space. So that is one scenario to look at. So this is a super interesting time. Exactly, we do own Tesla for the fund. It's been very exciting news. I do like this on another weekly chart. It kind of held this pretty smoothly here. The squeeze meter is never got into the red too much. That's usually when you start seeing going really deeply and very sharply through the 21. Chaikin money flows going up. RSI's being pretty fair price there. The overall trend has changed. As we said, there's usually like that white ticker there, and then it kind of executes with 2 or 3 days later. Particularly sometimes on that day, it'll switch. But then you can see here on the volume on the bottom, it's just been super green, and we had a very nice influx of volume today, beating the 21 average of volume over the daily chart of this stock. Looking at, I want to look at the standard deviations. This is a significant pull here. So jumping up 13-14%, nearly 20, nearly 18% if we count after hours trading. This is, I would hopefully like for this to calm down. We could potentially slow down, maybe kind of start coming off a little to a reasonable 611 potentially. So I'm going to be putting out some little limits here. If it breaks this deviation of a 671, which is currently where it is slightly below here, you can kind of see up the top here, it's at 670 and like 50 cents. If that breaks it tomorrow, we could see a slight retracement back to like the 600s or the 550s in the short term, and then potentially gain more steam and push substantially higher. So let's go ahead and look at the old Ford here. All right, see, so Ford posted basically a 4% down day today. The stock's trading at $5.16. The dividend is, I believe, not safe. Again, I'm not a dividend investor, but I know people are really worried about the dividend. They pay a fairly high dividend, if I remember right. But they have earnings coming up, and that's why they're giving a warning at the end of the month. They're like, hey, the projections we gave, we're literally have next to zero revenue going in. Everything slows down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're just trying to keep the doors open in the sense of keeping the lights on, so once this pandemic passes, we're able to ramp up production and kind of meet the demand that hopefully comes back with this pandemic. So looking at the chart, this is actually only on a yearly chart here. Looking at the daily here, hit a high at $10.56 back in, that was July. So that was the height. So let's actually bump this out to a weekly here. So yeah, it just has been well below on the weekly chart. It's on the weekly chart, that is. We just switched to the weekly chart. It has been significantly lower below its 200. So that's never a really good sign on a weekly chart. Chaikin money flow, it's super negative. RSI is kind of bouncing around. I don't think Ford's going to go anywhere, but they really need to inject capital and really reinvent something and just make people go, oh wow, like that looks fantastic. I want to buy that. Oh wow, like they're actually, this is just their marketing team or their production team needs to get together and be like, listen, the SUV Mustang thing, we need to really hit that one out of the park. Okay, boys and girls, because things ain't looking pretty. Let's actually bump this out to a super long term. We're going to do a monthly. Even since the overall great recession, I'm going to call it, in 08-09, it hit $1. It literally hit $1.01. All right. I'm not saying that we can get that, but the RSI is super low compared to where it would be. I think in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we can easily be at the $3 if we're bouncing around the $3.50 to $4. So I'm going to actually put out an alert. If it breaks below $3.99, that's not a really good wind. I think that the squeeze just kind of fired short. So this could last. This is where I'm trying to get at, where it could last 3 to 4 weeks. So this is a whole month, each of these ticks. So this tick could tick slightly lower, potentially not making a bottom, but Chaikin money flow in the monthly is kind of starting to curl. RSI is starting to curl. The only thing that hasn't changed yet is the momentum. Again, this is on a monthly chart, so this is like super like long-term thinking. But Ford Motor Company, like, let's be honest, like they're instilled as like an American-based company. Yes, they do make a lot of their parts in Mexico and so forth. But that is just a huge selling point here on the tails of just Tesla, just being able to come out and be like, oh yeah, we see your Ford F-150. All right, here's a Cybertruck. Boom, let's go. We got 500,000 pre-orders. What the heck? What the heck? All right, on the trend, if we're looking here for, if you just want to speculate and just do on a trade, you don't want to invest. Buying it here at anything below 450 for a potential reversal is key. We do in the short term have seen the 5 exponential moving average cross above the 8, which is good for the short term, but it has failed multiple times here at the 34 exponential moving average, which is the dotted purple line here. If this purple line, the solid purple line, can cross above the 21, we could get a nice little snapback. But that being said, a lot of the indicators are not printing very well here, and looking at overall just not very strong. The MACD is not the greatest strength here. Again, if it breaks the $5, I would like it would probably the next stop is basically around 450, and then the 415 $4 limit, because on the daily, this is on the hourly chart, my bad. Let me go here, let me do this, there we go. So basically, if it breaks the 490 level, that is a huge concern. The 399 level is basically the potential bottom. We do see a slightly touch here, so we could just draw a wonderful looking imaginary trend line like this, potentially bouncing at these levels moving forward. But that's that. I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't be putting my money into Ford since I have a pretty substantial position in Tesla. And then next we got GM. It's kind of the same. This is the crazy comparison. Doesn't that chart look exactly the same? So we can go over here and go to the flex grid. So we're going to go into F, and then we're going to go into GM, not GN, GM. Doesn't that chart look almost exactly the same? Kind of bouncing, kind of coming up slightly, and then potentially not going to the bottom, but halfway, a little bit more halfway to the bottom, and then kind of rallying up above the 21. This is what we're talking about a lot of the times, where this chart, they both look the same. All right, you can put in $1,000 here, $1,000 here. Your percentage gain will be the same increase, in the sense of I only can buy for 20 shares here, but then I can buy hundreds here at $5. It just depends on what game you want to play. The chart pattern's the same. It's the overall, the volume basically looks the same the way it scales up, because the day-to-day trading has a lot to do with the algorithms, but the long-term investing is when you start pulling out on the weekly and monthly time frames. But on the day-to-day chart, you can kind of see some potential, really much the same pattern here, and it's closing above the 21. Did this get above? It looks like this closed below the 21, actually Ford. So I would be preferring a little bit more higher to GM for a potential swing trade, potentially getting in at the 21, which is $22.15, and potentially seeing it up to 27 to fill that gap up here in the short term, that is. But that being said, I don't like either of these, honestly, in any kind of circumstances. We can go into a more depth here on, excuse me, let's go to the weekly. All right, so GM has been beaten up for years. Okay, it got down to 27 cents pre the recession, after the post recession 0809, because the government bought out. They had to give a huge loan to them, which they paid off, and so forth. But they had to do a full-on restructuring, so that's what made it jump to $34. And if I just drew a straight line, which I'm going to do that here, we're just going to draw a straight line. Basically, I'm going to do that right here. You can kind of see it's been in around that since 08. Okay, it's 2020 today, and just with the dividend, which didn't really kick in until 2014, so 3 years later, I don't know what you're gaining here. These GM or Ford would only be swing trades for me. These wouldn't be long-term capital investments on my opinion. Again, this is my opinion, what I would do with my capital on this particular trading with GM and Ford, and of course, but that being said, I'm fairly long Tesla, so it's kind of that's my bias. But if you wanted to swing trade something, if it gets down to 22.15 for a nice little swing trade up once the purple kind of crosses over the 21, which would be fantastic for a nice little swing trade. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're interested in anything else, want me to go in depth in anything, something else, help out, understand things, please leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll get to you as soon as possible. All right, guys, take it easy. Stay safe. Peace.